Once in a Lifetime, Chapter 25. It had been so long since I'd been kissed, I had almost forgotten what it felt like. It felt good. When Ronald pulled away from me, I was so stunned. A flea could have knocked me over. That was nice, I managed. I exhaled and slid my tongue across my bottom lip. I couldn't remember the last time my heart had thumped so hard. I had on a loose blouse, so it looked like I was just smoothing wrinkles on it when I rubbed my chest. I've been wanting to do that for a long time, he confessed. I gave him an incredulous look. What? But my voice suddenly sounded so hoarse. I thought I had developed an acute case of laryngitis. Laryngitis. Vanessa, we don't need to beat around the bush. You know as well as I do that this was a long time coming. I hunched my shoulders. I never thought about it. I was too embarrassed to come clean and admit that I've been thinking the same thing myself. Ronald looked embarrassed too. He started tapping the top of the table with his fingers and fidgeting in his seat. If I'm out of line, I apologize. And if you never want to speak to me again after tonight, I'll understand. It's okay. If you thought this was a long time coming, how come you never asked me out? I wanted to, but you're one of the busiest and most popular women I know. I giggled. Yeah, right. I'm so busy and popular that I'm at the movies on a Saturday night on my own at the 4th of July. In fact, we laughed. The same thing goes for me, he said. We laughed again. Ronald followed me to my apartment in his shiny new Volvo. We spent the next few hours on my living room couch, getting to know each other a little better. I was amazed that after all this time, I was just finding out that we liked some of the same movies, books, and food. After chatting for another hour, I was convinced that he had everything I wanted in a man. It was daylight when I walked into the door. So, where do we go from here? I asked. We shouldn't move too fast, though. He reared back and bucked his eyes in mock horror. Too fast. We've known each other for 8 months. At the rate we're going, we'll spend our first real date as residents at that retirement home where you folks live. We laughed long and loud. When did you know? I couldn't finish my sentence. That I was in love with you? He shrugged his shoulders. I can't really say for sure. The first day I laid eyes on you, I felt something. When he kissed me this time, I didn't want him to stop. But a few seconds later, when he did, he caressed the side of my face and looked into my eyes. Why don't you think things through for a few days? When you feel like talking, give me a call or come to my house. He left right after he said that. I hadn't been to sleep since the day before, but I didn't even bother going to bed. I was so hyped up, I knew I'd never been able to go to sleep. I had to decide whom I was going to share the news about Ronald and me with first. When Madeline called me up at 9 a.m. Sunday morning to see if I was going to meet her in Odette for coffee after church, I figured I'd start with her. The whole time I was telling her about my night out with Ronald, she remained as silent as a mouse. When I finally stopped talking, she asked, When's the wedding? Oh, hush. We didn't get anywhere near something that serious. For now, we're going to spend time together and see what happens. After I spoken to everybody else close to me and listened to them whoop and holler their approval, I dialed Judith's number. I decided to call her last because I assumed Ronald wanted to be the one to tell her about us first. She interrupted me right after I told her that he and I were convinced that we'd be good for each other. He told me the same thing. But do you really love him? She sounded so sober and distant, I didn't know what to think. Yes, I guess I do, I said in a shaky voice. You guess you do. Vanessa, love is not something you guess at. Either you do or you don't. I thought Jan loved my brother and he thought the same thing. I know he's where he's at now because of you. But I don't want you to be out with him out of pity. I couldn't interrupt fast enough. Hold on now. I never said anything about pitying Ronald. I care about him the way I always wanted to care about a man. But I will admit that if he had initiated things, I probably never would have. From what he's told me, I have a feeling he cares more about you than you care about him. Judith, there's probably not a relationship in the world between a man and a woman where the love is equally balanced. For all you and I know, I may care more about him than he cares about me. I just don't want to see him get hurt again. I was disappointed and surprised that Judith was so apprehensive. But after all she's been through with him, I understood where she was coming from. At the end of the day, Ronald is a grown man and you can't protect him the rest of his life. I really wished I could take my words back. Judith gasped so loudly she whimpered. Oh, I didn't mean that the way it sounded. I'm sure you didn't, she mumbled. Well, I wish you and Ronald all the luck in the world. If things didn't work out, I hope we still be friends. I don't know what I would have done without you. By September, I knew I wanted to be with only Ronald for the rest of my life. All I needed was for him to propose. However, he must have been on a different page because by November, he hadn't brought up the subject of marriage one single time. Sunday was November 22nd, the anniversary of the day Ronald and I first met. When I brought it to his attention, his eyes lit up like a lightning bug, and I haven't forgotten about the promise I made to foot the bill for your long overdue trip to Paris, the one you missed out on because of me. We had just come from dinner and were sitting on my living room couch that night. The one I missed out on because the post office sent my passport to the wrong address. Ronald shook his head. No, they didn't. It landed right where it was supposed to. I blinked to hold back my tears and racked my brain to come up with what to say next. Before I could say another word, he added, all you need to do is let me know when you want to take that trip. Well, it's too late for me to go this year for Christmas. Maybe I'll go next year. Mama says she'd like to see Paris at least one more time, so maybe she'll go with me. It's never too late to book a trip if you're traveling first class. I'm sure you and your mom would have a lot of fun, but do you really want to spend such a romantic time of year in Paris with Mama? Not only would you be surrounded by newlyweds, there will be hundreds of other couples there too, all celebrating their love for each other. I punched the side of his arm. Well, if you feel that way, why don't you go with me? I teased. That's fine. I've never traveled with a married woman. My breath caught in my throat. I sucked in so much air I thought I was going to pop wide open. What in the world? Ronald cut me off by covering my mouth with his hand. Will you marry me? He pushed his hand away from my face and said, yes. He wanted to get married the week of Christmas, so we didn't have enough time to plan a big church wedding. I had given up on that a long time ago anyway. Nobody questioned the fact that we didn't want to put it off too long, and nobody admitted it, but I was certain that they had the same concerns I had, the future of Ronald's health. All of his follow-up appointments had gone well so far, but he still had a long way to go before he was completely out of the woods. Like, comment, and subscribe on this video. Bye-bye.